Hello everybody and welcome back to the Halo Chronicle. Today's video is part 18 and the final part of my First Strike series. Links to the previous parts will be provided in the description below. The next long-form video will start a new series that will cover Halo Contact Harvest. In the last installment, we discussed Dr. Halsey's work and deception. Halsey performed a series of risky medical procedures on a clinically dead Spartan named Linda. After flash cloning several organs and transplanting them into Linda, the Spartan would be revived. Halsey would then turn her focus to the mysterious slipspace crystal they found on Reach. To make sure the crystal did not fall into Covenant hands, she turned it over to Corporal Locklear, who was in a highly emotional state over the death of Warrant Officer Sheila Pulaski. Locklear accepted the assignment without understanding why he was chosen for this task. Halsey then ran diagnostics on Cortana and found that the AI was not performing to optimal efficiency. Halsey found that Cortana's processes were being bogged down by the enormous amount of data she collected on Alpha Halo. Halsey removed and backed up this data. Halsey then had Cortana hack a tablet belonging to Colonel Ackerson, which she found on Reach. Cortana found references to a new Spartan program and coordinates to a facility in a remote, unexplored part of space. Halsey would then delete the knowledge of this exchange from Cortana's memory. She then would call Spartan Kelly to the medical bay for tests. During these tests, Halsey would sedate Kelly. The Master Chief would lead the Gettysburg Ascendant Justice to an asteroid field in Eridanus Secundus. There, they would be met by rebel forces loyal to the base's commander, Governor Giles. After a long standoff and some convincing from Admiral Whitcomb, the rebels would agree to assist the UNSC crew. While working on repairs in the base, Halsey would spot a Condor-class UNSC vessel which contained a slipspace drive. Still heartbroken over the loss of Pulaski, Corporal Locklear would decide to destroy the slipspace crystal. He would coat the crystal with C7 explosive gel and detonate it. He would be killed in the resulting explosion. The explosion would create the distraction Halsey needed. She would load Kelly into the Condor and commandeer the ship. Using her Oni codes, Halsey activated the ship and its slipspace drive. They then left the system to travel to an unknown part of space. Halsey's commandeering of the rebel ship created hostility between the UNSC crew and the rebels. But before they could come to blows, a Covenant fleet would arrive in the system. Knowing that they had no defense for what was coming, Admiral Whitcomb ordered Cortana to jump the Gettysburg Ascendant Justice out of the system. This left the rebels to face the Covenant alone. After leaving the system, Cortana would intercept Covenant communications that would inform her that a large force of Covenant vessels was amassing at a refueling platform called the Unyielding Hierophant. Knowing that humanity's forces were crippled after the fall of Reach, the Master Chief would present a plan to Whitcomb. This plan would be called Operation First Strike. The plan would see the Spartans go to the Covenant refueling platform and overload its reactors in an effort to destroy the invading fleet before they invaded Earth. Whitcomb would approve this plan. That completes last week's recap. Let's jump into today's final climactic episode of this series. Cortana would begin the process of copying herself using programs she acquired from the rogue Covenant AI. These copies would contain subroutines that the Master Chief would need when boarding the Unyielding Hierophant. Cortana would then give the Master Chief a warning. She would state that these copies were neither complete nor stable. The Spartans would then take a Covenant dropship and retrofit it for infiltration. The Master Chief, Spartans Fred, Grace, and Will were originally tasked with this mission, but Spartan Linda would also join. Linda was still recovering from a series of surgeries that restored her from being clinically dead, but she insisted on joining the Master Chief for this mission. The Master Chief reluctantly agreed to let Linda join. The Master Chief and his Spartans would then load up on supplies, board the Covenant dropship, and prepare to be dropped out of slipspace. Just as Cortana calculated, she was able to drop the dropship out of slipspace at the precise moment needed. The dropship would appear in normal space in a system that was completely filled with Covenant forces. What the Spartans would see on their mission would make it even more important. the Master Chief's team would see over 500 Covenant ships amassing around a double bulb-like structure known as the Unyielding Hierophant. Cortana's copy would confirm that all 500 ships were preparing to launch an attack on Earth. If they were allowed to proceed, Earth would undoubtedly fall, as this was the largest Covenant fleet ever seen by a human. The Spartans would snap out of their surprise and focus on the mission at hand. They would guide the Covenant dropship to the Unyielding Hierophant using subroutines provided by Cortana. The ship would pass all Covenant checkpoints thanks to Cortana, and they would dock with the Covenant refueling platform. The mission would now begin with a bang. The Spartans would begin engaging Covenant forces on the loading platform. The Master Chief would then upload Cortana into the Unyielding Hierophant's network so that she could provide instructions on how to reach the reactor room. The Master Chief ordered Linda to stay behind and protect their exit. The rest of the team would begin traversing the large Covenant facility. Routinely, the Master Chief would receive directions from Cortana's copy, but something changed each time she contacted him. To avoid detection and to prevent herself from being deleted, the copy would begin to copy herself. The Unyielding Hierophant system would begin to fill with Cortana copies. This made communications between Cortana and the Master Chief difficult at times. Cortana would send the Spartans on a route through a temple within the Unyielding Hierophant. This temple would be guarded by brutes. This would be one of the Master Chief's first encounters with brutes. The Spartans would grapple with the enormous brutes. The Master Chief would barely survive his battle, but another Spartan would not be so lucky. Spartan Grace would be killed in her encounter with a brute. After their encounter with the brutes, the Master Chief would check on Grace and confirm that the Spartan had passed. He activated the failsafe code on her Mjolnir system. This would overload the suit's reactor and destroy it. The Spartans would reach the Unyielding Hierophant's reactors and rig them to explode. The explosive device would have a 10-minute timer. They would then make their way out of the facility. They would commandeer 3 Banshees to speed up their travels. Before escaping the facility, they would first need to regroup with Linda. The Master Chief would find Linda performing one of the most badass feats in the history of the Halo universe. Linda was hanging upside down with her legs wrapped around a cable. From that position, Linda was using her sniper to shoot elites out of Banshees. The Master Chief would make contact with Linda and pick her up. Spartans would then regroup and steal a Covenant Spirit dropship. They would then leave the refueling platform. After leaving, they would receive an Ollie Ollie Oxenfree code from an unknown source. Suddenly, they would hear Admiral Whitcomb's voice over their communicators. Admiral Whitcomb decided to have a peek at the Unyielding Hierophant. He would have the Gettysburg Ascendant Justice jump into the system and use an orc cloud as cover. After seeing the large size of the Covenant fleet, Admiral Whitcomb knew that even if he got a warning to Earth, they still wouldn't have a chance at beating the Covenant. With that in mind, he formed a new plan. Admiral Whitcomb had his crew move the Ascendant Justice's slipspace drive into the Gettysburg. They then separated the ships. Whitcomb and Haverson would then take the Ascendant Justice to the Unyielding Hierophant. They would then transmit a message that showed Whitcomb holding a holographic picture of the mysterious slipspace crystal. They would use this message to draw more Covenant ships to the refueling platform. Whitcomb charged the Master Chief and his crew with delivering the warning to Earth. The Master Chief and his crew would reach the Gettysburg. There they would find Sergeant Johnson and Cortana. After reaching the ship's bridge, they would witness the detonation of the Unyielding Hierophant. Whitcomb's plan worked. He was able to draw most of the Covenant fleet into the Covenant refueling platform. After the explosion, only about a dozen Covenant ships remained. Cortana would jump the Gettysburg to a random point in space as a part of the Cole Protocol. They would then plot a course to make their way back to Earth. This is where the events of Halo 2 would take place. This will conclude the First Strike series. Before I end today's video, let's discuss some fun facts about today's video. Following the destruction of the unyielding Hierophant, Covenant forces would recover shards of the slipspace crystal found on Reach. They would be brought to a brute chieftain named Tartarus. Tartarus would bring them to the Prophet of Truth. Truth would one day restore the crystal and use it to activate a Forerunner portal on Earth. This portal would take both human and Covenant forces to the Ark, where they would engage in the climactic battles depicted in Halo 3. Admiral Whitcomb's sacrifice to destroy the unyielding Hierophant was not his last act against the Covenant. Weeks prior, Whitcomb activated the timer on a Nova Bomb during the fall of Reach. This Nova Bomb was recovered by the Covenant and taken to one of their outposts. This outpost was called Joyous Exultation. There, a Covenant engineer would accidentally activate and set off the bomb, but before the bomb would go off, it would play a message from Whitcomb himself. The message would say, "To the Covenant uglies that might be listening, you have a few seconds to pray to your damned heathen gods. You all have a nice day in hell." The bomb would destroy the outpost, the planet it resided on, and a nearby moon. Over 300 ships were destroyed in that blast. This would cement Admiral Whitcomb as one of the most badass commanders in the Halo mythos. After arriving back on Earth, Blue Team would be separated again. The Master Chief would be brought aboard Cairo Station to be briefed by UNSC Chief Terrence Hood. The rest of Blue Team would be sent to Earth's surface to prepare for the incoming Covenant invasion. The group would not reunite again until after the events of Halo 4. Thank you for watching today's video and this series as a whole. I hope you all enjoyed watching this series. My next episode will be the start of a new series about the events that transpired in the Halo book, Contact Harvest. I am really excited to transition to a new story, and I hope to see you all there. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you next time.